Hello, bonjour, Alberta. Did you know that at least 238,000 people speak Français in Alberta? And those numbers just keep on growing? Oui, oui, c'est vrai, it's true. And thanks to Shaw TV Community Access Programming, we get to reach out to everyone to let you know all about special people, places, events, and activities happening right here in this great province, in both English and en français. That's right, mes amis. We begin the first part of our program in English, and then we repeat it en français. So stay with us. Restez à l'écoute.
Welcome everyone to Hello Bonjour Alberta. I'm Anne Boiteau, and we are doing a show, Season 11, 2016. Our theme this year is the 60th anniversary of the twinning of Calgary and Quebec City. And we have with us tonight Jason Thornhill, the owner of ASPEN Crossing Excursion Tours, Train Excursion Tours, and Karine Dion, who works on the railway. Welcome.
Welcome.
So Jason, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from, and how did you start this lovely business?
Well, Aspen Crossing actually started on the family farm, and we opened the doors May 1st, 2004. And
here in Alberta?
Here in Alberta. And it opened as a garden center with a tree nursery. And how it got started was I was doing landscaping, and it always seemed like after about May 15th, you could never find the trees that you wanted for these upcoming jobs. So it's like, you know, Dad, do you mind if I steal 20 acres and plant some trees? And then I'll have some to sell and some for jobs, and everything will be perfect. And, you know, as time roll on and the trees are ready to sell, it's like, I didn't realize a parking lot would be so expensive to rent in Calgary where I had planned to sell the trees. So we decided, let's open a business right on the farm. And if it wasn't busy, we could be working in the nursery. And aspen was a favorite tree, and crossing was to represent the railway, which had a lot of history to do with horticulture. They actually used that to encourage settlers to come west in Canada. And so at all these train stations, they would put nice gardens, and it would show people that the soil was fertile and that, yes, you can actually come and make a living in Western Canada.
Okay. And so are you from a large family, or?
And I have one sister, and our farm really wasn't big enough to sustain as a farm, and so this worked out quite nice. So, you know, it's kind of like a hidden jewel. Mossley is very small. There's less than 100 people in Mossley. So, you know, that's probably been our biggest challenge, is to educate people where Aspen Crossing is. Like,
yes. where 1 kilometer west of Mossley.
Yeah, and people are like, well, where the heck is Mossley? You know, and so, well, we're just straight east of Okotoks or south of Strathmore, and there we are, you know. And so what started as a greenhouse and tree nursery has now blossomed into a campground, and there's a dining car restaurant there, and now we're doing these real train tours that you can take. And
so you had tracks there on the land, or you built the tracks?
There actually happened to be a CPR line that went right through the property. So, and how I started to like trains was, the train would go through at least once a week, and my dad would carry me out on his shoulders to wave at trainmen and engineers, and, you know, they'd blow the whistle and flash their lights at us, and it was just natural to do this. So.
Ah, cool. And so when you started in 2004, did you say?
Yeah, 2004.
You had how many, what do you call them? Not caboose, but how many actual train?
We actually didn't realize
wagons.
that we were even going to have train excursions back in
Back
2004.
Then, it was just the nursery.
We had purchased a caboose from CP Rail just to kind of have as a static display just outside the store. And then, you know, as we got to meet people and stuff, it's like, hey, you know, why not do train excursions. So people, this track, the last train went through Mossley in March of 2001. And so here this track was just sitting there doing nothing. Thought, hey, maybe we could make a go of this and showcase these southern Alberta prairies. And we'd get more visitors that could buy our plants and our trees and help make the campground busy. And so it looks like it'll really go.
And so how far can you go on those tracks?
So the track that, and CP of course was going to tear the tracks up. So when we kind of heard this, it's like, oh no, and we tried to stop it, and it didn't look like we were going to be able to stop it. And we just managed to meet a person where it's like, oh, I used to work for CP, and let me tell you how these contracts work. And he helped us cancel this contract to rip out the tracks and save them. We managed to purchase 14 miles of the track from CPR, and that's where the train excursions take place.
Just before we start talking about the excursions themselves, we'd like to know a little bit about Karine. So Karine, tell us where you're from.
Well, I'm from down east, and I moved here last year, and now I'm part of ASPEN Crossing family.
So you moved because, why did you move?
Because of my boyfriend.
There's always somebody behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay. And I love this here, so.
Okay, and were you into trains before, or?
No, I was in bank, so it's kind of new for me, but I love this.
Okay. So, and how did you meet? How did you come about working for ASPEN?
Again, it's all about my boyfriend. It's his fault, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a sign up, a digital sign, looking for help wanted,
Yeah.
And her man Richard happened to stop by, and he had been in the area for quite some time before moving back down east, and said, oh, what are you hiring for? Because I can do almost anything, and I really need a job. And it was like, he was only there a few days, and it's just like, I could work here the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
And he brought her with him. So
that's good.
Yeah.
And now I understand there's about 35 people working for ASPEN Crossing.
Yeah, and some just really like for the work as many hours as possible, and some just like it as relaxing one day a week. And we're very flexible, we're very team oriented, where it's like nobody's the boss, we all just work together, we're all a team.
That's good. So let's talk about those train excursions. So you've got theme excursions, you've got regular excursions, you've got excursions during the summer for kids. Tell me about the excursions.
Well, the excursions last anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on what's happening for food and entertainment. And then there's, like I was mentioning earlier, that we have 14 miles of track, so some of the tours are as long as 28 miles by the time you go there and back. And we've got everything as from circus trains that are great for the young ones, or I like to call them the young hoodlums, and then to beer and wine trains for us older hoodlums.
Wine and cheese.
Yeah, and we've got wine and cheese tours. We've got prairie tours that we want to be very informative, so it's like we can tell people what kind of crops we're passing by. And Mossley is very fortunate to have 3 wooden elevators left, and like they're almost extinct in Alberta. In 1930 there was over 1,700 of them, and now there's down to less than 200, and Mossley happens to have 3 of them. So on our prairie tours, people get to tour inside the elevator.
Oh, you stop and
we
let
stop
people
and they
off.
can and show them how they were built, and how many people it took to build one, and all this stuff. And the kids really seem to like it because they had no idea that their bread started out in a field that we just passed, and then so.
Yes. And how many people can you accommodate on a tour?
So we can now fit up to 300 people on the train.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many wagons would that be?
So we've actually got 6 passenger cars that we use for this, and they've kind of originated from anywhere from 1946 is our oldest car, and 1950 is our newest car, and we even have new this year is a dome car that people can ride in. So we're doing, starting June 1st, people can upgrade their ticket to ride in the dome car.
Oh,
yeah.
nice, nice. And these cars came from where?
Well,
Where did you get them? Like 1946, 1950?
yeah. Well, thanks to a lot of networking and the internet, kind of here and there. Like we got some from CP Rail, where they were surplus cars, and a friend of mine from Ontario, he works on a railway that is near Orangeville, Ontario, and he had told me about Ontario Northland having some surplus cars for sale, and when he happened to call, he's like, oh, sorry for the short notice, but there's 3 really nice cars up for bid, and bids close tonight at midnight, just so you know. So he didn't have much time to plan as to, okay, if we do get this, how are we going to pay for these things?
Yes,
like,
or have them shipped over.
Yeah, so we actually put a bid in, never have even seen them, just a few pictures on the internet is all we got to see, but
Was there
we're
a
so
lot
glad
of
that we
work to upgrade them or to change them around, or did you?
not as much as it maybe could have been, but it still was a lot of work, and we're going to continue to do lots of work on them just as our budget kind of allows for it. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. So some of the theme excursions that you have is, for example, Christmas time you have the Polar Express. So everything changes to snow and lights and magic. And how long? The whole month of December is the Polar?
yeah, we actually start in November because it's so
November.
popular. And this is a 1-hour journey to the North Pole to pick up Santa. So 1-hour round trip, and if you've seen the movie, we stop and pick up Billy, and then we've got the dancing chefs that serve hot chocolate and cookies, and the story gets read, and it's through Warner Brothers, so it's very scripted as to what you have to do, but people love it. Like, it's amazing to see these people getting off the train singing along to the theme Polar Express songs, and it's just like, wow, this is really magical.
And you also have the, in October, you have the
Train of Terror.
Train of Terror.
And that's going to be completely new for us this year.
Oh,
we haven't
new
done one
one.
yet. So we've taken 2 old baggage cars, and we're going to put a maze through them. So, and they'll be moving while you're on the track. So
Like
just
a
the
haunted
whole-
house train.
Exactly. So just with the rocking back and forth and the click of the track in the dark, it's going to add a whole nother element to it.
Well, Jason and Karine, it was a pleasure to have you with us tonight. And for all of you out there, please stay tuned. We continue en français.